The Alberta government released the report from the Alberta Next panel on Friday. One of its recommendations is to hold a referendum asking Albertans if the provincial government should have more control over immigration. For more on what that could mean and what kind of question they might ask, we've reached Michael Green. He has been practicing immigration law in Calgary for 40 years. Now, the Constitution lays out immigration as a shared responsibility between the federal government and the provincial government. Given that, what could Alberta do to assert more control?
Not much. The shared jurisdiction, it works with a principle called paramountcy, which means that if the federal government enters the area, then the provinces can't go there. And so the federal government has long controlled immigration. It decides who gets to come, what categories, et cetera, et cetera. What they do is they make agreements with the provinces to give them some say in the selection of immigrants. So we have. We get to pick several thousand immigrants in Alberta, and every other province does as well. So we can negotiate for more, a bigger piece of the pie, but that's about it. We can't take control of immigrant selection.
Okay, so in the Alberta Next report, panel report, it mentions this idea of creating a, quote, provincial certificate of immigration that would ensure valued economic migrants retain access to core services, end quote. This is around immigrant eligibility for social services, we understand. Can you walk us through the nuts and bolts of that idea and what you think of it?
Yeah, that's the creepy one because it's valued economic immigrants. Who are they? The devil will be in the details on that one. But it's one that disturbs me because I'm concerned that they might say some immigrants are not valued, and so you don't get health care if you're on that list. And the other thing about it is it sort of smacks of the show me your papers kind of approach to things, and so you got the other thing that's coming with the Alberta Next panel is Danielle Smith's private police force, and I could see a situation where those people are mandated to check everybody's papers. That these two things work hand in hand. So that's a bit disturbing, and that combined with the fondness of the government to use the notwithstanding clause. That's got potential for being something disturbing.
What kinds of provincial programs and services does the Alberta government currently provide to temporary foreign workers and international students?
Healthcare. It's mainly healthcare, and so are they going to have a situation where some foreign workers don't get health care, or some students don't get health care? Because right now they do. All foreign workers with a valid work permit and students with a valid study permit are entitled to health care, as are their families. So are we going to see some kind of change to that rules? I can't see what else they've got up their sleeves here on this one. So
given that this is a matter of sort of constitutional, it's laid out in the Constitution, the division of this between provinces and the federal government, how then does it go? How do you pose the question to Albertans meaningfully?
Well, it's a bit of one of those red meat questions. We're going to have a referendum probably, because this isn't an independent panel making recommendations to Danielle Smith. It's Danielle Smith making recommendations to Danielle Smith. So I think we're going to see a referendum, and it'll be just like, should Alberta have more control over immigration? Hands up, and people say yes. And then what I expect is they'll use that to try to negotiate a bigger slice of the pie in terms of how many people Alberta gets to pick.
From where you sit, and given the experiences you have and the people you support, what are the disconnects, if that's a way to put it, or what are the challenges with the amount of control the federal government has over this right now?
Well, here's the problem. Even by their own admission, the federal government really messed up on immigration. They let in far too many people on temporary work permits and study permits. And they thought that they were going to improve the GDP by doing that, but they didn't realize GDP is based on per capita, so they just watered it down, and we didn't go anywhere that way. But we also, but it did put pressure on housing and on jobs. And so they did make a mess, and that's what people are upset about. People in Alberta, but not just Alberta, across the country are upset. Even my business, I think that they botched it. So now they're trying to make it better. I don't think the giving more power to the provinces would actually make it better, because they're going to, they're just as capable of screwing up politically. The feds are turning it around now. They have drastically cut their numbers. And it's actually a bad time for immigrants right now. For the next probably 2 or 3 years, it's going to be much tougher to get into Canada.
Yeah, we saw that, on the whole, population growth through immigration and the birth rate and all the rest of it, but through immigration is essentially stagnant at this point. Doesn't mean there aren't immigrants coming, but Canada's population growth in the context of these reductions is stagnant. I mean, what do you make of the timing of this, given all of that?
Well, this panel is a reaction to what happened over the last, say, 3 or 4 years. But the feds are kind of outpaced them on this, and I think that they're making the changes that will make the problem more or less go away. Like I say, I don't have confidence in provinces being able to do a better job on selection. They're so if you look at the history of Alberta's programs they've announced, they've had a lot of duds, and often politically motivated. Somebody gets an idea, and then off they go down that road, and then it turns out to be a big mess up. We'll see. I think the feds are dealing with it now. I actually don't like a lot of the things the feds are doing, because I think it's an overreaction, but they've got to turn public opinion around. And right now, public opinion is hostile to immigration.